So Lee, tell us how you did that. You started as a high school teacher, and then you moved up the ranks of Google. There's thousands of Google employees. How did you do
I
that?
thought you might ask me that. Yeah, I started as a fifth grade history and English teacher. And after that, I went into a number of agency and startup jobs. A lot of them were in sales. And people always ask me in the interview, how did you go from being a teacher to being a salesperson? And my answer was always, selling history to 10-year-olds is way harder than selling any of this crap. So that's sort of the background. But I love teaching. My dad's a teacher, and that's sort of my background.
Nice. So 2 billion downloads driven by Google Ads, right? And it's an interesting number, right? Because this is a number you announced just a couple of months ago at
That's
Google
right.
I/O. Interesting number. And I'm aware that this is I think the first and maybe the only significant panel on advertising, right? So it's a big shift here. So I want to set the stage and have Lee talk about the state of the landscape here in ads. 2 billion is interesting because Facebook happened to announce something very similar. I think it was 2 billion plus. So there's definitely some competition going on between you and Facebook.
We're 2 billion plus as well.
2 billion plus. Okay,
Yes.
great. So that's news, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So you're roughly equal, which is interesting because for a while, most of us believed that Facebook was really the only shop in town when it came to driving downloads, right? And that Google was way behind, right? And that was kind of year in and year out. There were ad mob problems integrating with Google. Can you tell us how you did it? Where are those 2 billion downloads coming from? Right?
Sure. So just for quick background, I joined Google, or actually I joined AdMob, which was the first company to put ads on the iPhone back in 2008. I joined Google via AdMob. And back then, AdMob was the leader in driving installs. And back then, we spent a lot of time just trying to justify why you should be paying for installs. And gaming really—
it was so early.
That's right.
Yeah.
And gaming really led that charge. In fact, I think that year, Angry Birds, we used to say Angry Birds was— a Super Bowl happens every single day on Angry Birds. And I was actually an Angry Bird for Halloween that year, too, in case you were wondering. But
I think you got a story about Angry Birds, too. Your mother-in-law was like top 10 player?
I flew into a window when I was in that costume. No, my mother-in-law is actually one of the top 10 ranked Angry Bird players in the world. And she—
It's true, yeah.
She's not in your typical demo for games. It's not the only game she plays, but she's extremely good. But anyway, back to your question.
Can we make?
Yes.
Can we come back to that question?
Sure.
Let's turn the mother-in-law into a political statement for Google, right? So she's not in your typical demographic. And my understanding is that Facebook's main methodology is demographics, audiences, segmentation, and you guys have decided you're going to go after something else, which is the event. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, our entire thesis, what's driving our product roadmap for UA, user acquisition through ads, is really this assumption that there are so many different signals you can use to drive a high-quality user. And every game is different, and your user base is not one specific archetype, right? And so the next big avenue, we believe, in paid app promotion is being able to share that unique insight and data with us about your users. And we can go out and find more people that are likely to be valuable, like your most valuable customers. So for example, we had a game, Pixonic, who we worked very closely with. Just on the AdMob side, they said, our most valuable customers are people who reach level 5 in our game. That's really all we care about. We know that that's the inflection point for somebody that's going to end up being a paid user. Let's only optimize for installs for people that are going to reach level 5. So we trained our system to do this, and it resulted in a 4x increase in average revenue per user and a 40% lift in downloads. So the point here is we believe that the signals and the insights that you know about your users are more valuable than any demographic. Now, if all you were doing was targeting males 18 to 24 or women 35 to 45, you'd miss out on somebody like my mother-in-law who probably spends, I don't know, a couple $100 a year on IAP, in-app purchase data. So we believe that that's the primary focus for our ad products.
Got it. So I'll bring up an inconvenient truth, which is Facebook just announced event-based advertising, right? very recently. It was just last week or something?
I don't know.
Could that be in response to the fact that you mentioned the 2 billion number at Google? They had to respond.
Well,
So maybe
I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for them, but
Yeah.
we've been doing this for over a year. So that product, the Pixonic example I gave, was based on optimizing for in-app event history and signals. And we've had that product live in the marketplace for over a year. At I/O, we said, look, this is going so well. The gaming industry has really been at the forefront for helping us break through and improve from a user acquisition standpoint. Let's expand that product to search, YouTube, display, all of the other assets at Google, and not just do it on AdMob. So that was our big announcement at I/O, and we're currently in a beta with 200 customers.
Great. So let's go back to the original question.
Back to your original
which
question.
is how did you do it?
How do we do it? So, for me, it's been interesting to watch Google approach apps from, their standpoint primarily, which started as a search company. Since 2010, we've heard consistently from customers that apps are very complicated. Executing a campaign with you on search, display, or YouTube takes a lot of time. How can you make it easier for us? And really what we care most about is value. And so if you flash forward to where we are today, we've put ads on search, we've put ads in the Android Play Store, we've put ads on YouTube, and then we've expanded our AdMob publisher network to over 1 million great apps. And this is on iOS and Android. Obviously, we don't have the Play Store on iOS. And rather than trying to make you an expert on how to reach people across each one of our different properties, we also created this product called Universal App Campaigns. And you can create one campaign to drive whatever your target goal is, whether it's somebody who reaches level 5 in a game and installs your app, or somebody who, if you just want volume of installs. We will syndicate your ads, generate keywords, and actually build creative and run your ads for you. And we're seeing fantastic results with this. One customer, just to quote, I think it was HBO, they said previously it took us about 2 hours to execute campaigns with you. We've got that down to 15 minutes now, and we're very happy with the results. And they're optimizing for subscriptions.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about the feedback you've gotten from customers for the Universal the ad campaign? I would imagine that if you're going from 2 hours down to 15 minutes, there's a certain amount of trust, right? Because if the publisher isn't doing the work and actually getting granular in those decisions, they're putting a lot of trust on you to make the decision for them. And that could result in maybe some questioning about the ROI. Can you talk a little bit about what you've seen in terms of the feedback on the price, the value from some of your big customers? Yeah,
so at first we thought Universal App Campaigns, when we launched it, would primarily be for a smaller customer, a developer. Yeah. And we've actually seen adoption with some of our largest customers as well, who are focused on the downstream event. And many customers will come to us and say, look, if you can actually hit my KPIs, we'll spend as much as possible. Now, obviously, any marketer cares about where their ads show up, and we still have a number of brand safety controls in effect, and we show you reporting by channel. So if there are keywords that are highly sensitive, you can exclude those. So it's the balance that we're trying to find, but ultimately we think that this is the trade-off between the time and the value that you get back is worth it.
Okay. So you mentioned that the new version of this Universal App Campaign is coming out soon, right? Yeah. It's in beta. What's taking so long? Because I think there's a lot of bells and whistles you've been talking about, machine learning, and all these infinite numbers of signs that you're taking into account,
Sure.
And then the learning that happens feeds back into the product. What's taking so long to get it out?
So from my perspective, it's not really taking a long time. Like typically at Google, we will make a lot of announcements at I/O. We bundle a lot of announcements at I/O. And then, we have a commitment that we'll launch those products, within a certain time frame. So from my standpoint, this should be launching imminently. And there are 200 customers in the beta, and these are all of our top customers. And I would actually say, if folks are interested in learning more, we're happy to consider other customers as well. So from that standpoint, this product is it's just not officially available to all, but it's pretty much, available to our biggest customers.
Can you tell us a little bit about the machine learning that goes into this and some of the other artificial intelligence. I mean, these are terms that are being thrown around by everybody now in the Valley, and there's some mystique behind it. But these things have been around for 20 years, so Google's giving us some magical machine learning elements in this new universal app campaign. Can you talk a little bit in the specifics in terms of what that means? What are you doing that others aren't doing?
Well, first of all, we're using Pied Piper for high video compression speeds, and that's been great. I highly recommend them. No, actually, I mean, so the whole premise here is that to actually reach a user at the right moment, there's a lot that you have to understand, right? First and foremost, it's incumbent on the marketer, the gamer, the developer to understand who your most valuable users are. Once you have an understanding of that, how do you get more of those people? I think I saw a stat across all apps, 20%, on average, 20% of your users are driving 80% of the value, right? What if you could grow that 20%? And we're saying one of the best ways to do that is to let Google leverage some of the great data that we have combined with your signals. So it could be the amount of time people are spending watching videos on YouTube. It could be active gamer profiles that we have from Android. It could be IAP spend. All of those signals we use to make a decision in real time about who to serve an ad to, what is the cost, and how should we bid. What are the keywords that we should be looking at to maximize value for the customer? We also generate creative. And there's some things here, to your point about machine learning and some of the big data cliches. You know, we have a product called Trial Run Ads. I'm not sure if folks have heard of that, but because of our integration with the Play Store, we can take your APK, your Android app, and actually build an ad that lets somebody try the app directly from the ad.
I think how many people have heard that these trial ads?
So it's not just...
Okay, so a lot of people have. Can you tell us how they're doing?
So it's also organic search results too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to pay for that. This can also be enabled through organic search results on Google.
Great.
How are they doing? We haven't released any stats yet. We're expanding this beta though to include many more customers, which is exciting. Our plans to put it in universal app campaigns. Version 2 at some point. How is it doing? I would say anecdotally, people are very happy with the results. And our first and foremost concern is it a good user experience? And all signs point to yes, if served to the right audience, like people are actually prefer to try before they buy, because downloading an app is potentially an investment, right? And it's also a data cost if it's a big app.
Got it. And I understand you can't divulge too many details on the results of these things, but ads in the store, right? The Play Store is also relatively recent, right?
Yeah.
And something that I'm not sure there's not a lot of publicity about and not a lot of chatter about. Can you talk a little bit about the contribution?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of that to the business? I saw that Apple has announced something that's coming down too for their App Store.
That's right. So I mean, if you're not aware, we put ads in the Android Play Store, and this was very exciting for us. Part of the impetus here is that we want to make paid user acquisition affordable to all developers, not just the big guys who can afford to spend. So that was a big driver here, is how do we help make our Android ecosystem and user acquisition affordable. In terms of the numbers, the announcement of adding universal app campaigns and ads in the Play Store resulted in a 2x increase year over year in the number of installs that we've driven through ads. So tremendous impact. People see a lot of value here. For us, it was sort of like, hey, we are a search engine, and we also own the largest app store search engine. Why aren't we putting ads there? So it was really a no-brainer from a user experience, from a company standpoint, and also a decent user experience.
Yeah. So can you talk a little bit about where you're seeing maybe some surprising upside in the traction, right? So you've got ads in the Play Store, you've got YouTube, and there's social ads, there's search, there's email campaigns, right? Believe it or not, but they're a big driver. Can you talk a little bit about where you're seeing surprising upside to driving installs?
Yeah, so from our standpoint, like I think, or from a gaming perspective, I think really good game marketing is when you're able to extend that experience into your marketing campaigns. And that's sort of been what we've tried to align with when it comes to building new ad formats, targeting, and placements. YouTube's a great example of that.
Right.
We have research that shows 90% of avid gamers visit YouTube once a week, and they're going there to watch other people play, to look for tips and tricks, and 64% of those people will download an app after seeing a YouTube ad. So just the fact that we were able to tap into that community is amazing from a gaming perspective. It was tremendous upside that I think is actually a beneficial user experience as well. I would also say from a play standpoint, being able to be highly targeted in terms of who you're trying to reach reduces a lot of waste from a marketing standpoint, and we're also able to do a fair amount of volume and drive quality users there.
Great. We're out of time. Just one last question, as we got 1 second left. Just
sure.
Messaging has, many people are saying that's become the platform. 2 to 3 billion people moving to WhatsApp, WeChat, Snapchat. A lot of people are starting to play games there. Can you talk a little bit about how you're managing this swelling of people in these new communities to reach them with app install driving campaigns?
So there's no doubt in my mind that messaging is big and will be big. I think what you're seeing in APAC is that this is already happening. Line and WeChat, have vibrant gaming communities, and you can actually do a lot just directly from the chat app. I think the US and in Europe are a little bit behind in that space. It'll be interesting to see how this evolves. It's still a little bit early, I would say. From our standpoint, though, just overall in the industry, we see at this point where we are from a marketing standpoint is I think that you no longer have to just try to drive the cheapest installs possible. We think if you can be smart and data-driven in your approach, you can unlock a ton of value. And you don't have to be a billion-dollar market cap. You could be 2 Neds in a shed that can take advantage of this, and that's our goal.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Matt.
Thanks.